Hey friends, it's time for our third chapter of Ivy and Bean. We've already met Bean, a lot about Bean, and we found out that Bean is very active. She likes to do lots of things, and her mom wants her to be friends with Ivy, the girl across the street, but Bean doesn't think she could be friends with her because Ivy just seems to like to sit around all the time, and Bean likes to keep busy. Then in chapter 2, Bean and her mom went shopping with her sister Nancy. Nancy was looking for some new clothes, and Bean did not like to shop. So Bean was trying to rush her sister out. And at the end of that chapter, it said she came up with a plan. Now we're to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is The Ghost of Pancake Court. So, why is there a ghost now? What does that have to do with Bean's plan that she was hatching up? Let's read to find out. And what is this? Is that a pancake? I see someone back here behind it, but I don't know what that is. So let's read. Bean was hiding inside a big round bush in her front yard. Oh, I bet that's the bush and that's Bean hiding behind it. Actually, it says she was inside the bush. The bush was right next to the sidewalk and it was very scratchy and sticky inside. But Bean needed to be in the bush for her plan to work. Here's how Bean's plan went. She took a $20 bill out of Nancy's purse and taped a long thread to it. She put the $20 bill on the sidewalk. Then she held on to the other end of the thread and climbed into the bush. Nancy would be coming home from school soon. She would see the money on the sidewalk. She would bend down to pick it up. Bean would quickly pull the money away, and then Nancy would freak out. Bean could hardly wait. There was only one problem. Nancy didn't come. Bean sat inside the bush for a long time. A branch poked her arm. Leaves fell down her shirt. She itched. She waited. Nothing happened. It was very quiet. Bean was hardly ever this quiet for this long. Because there was nothing else to do, she looked at the house across the street. Really, it wasn't across the street, it was around the street. Bean loved her street. The first reason was its name, Pancake Court. Ah, wasn't that in the title of this chapter? If we go back, The Ghost of Pancake Court. So, there's a ghost on her street? Let's find out. The second reason was that it ended in a big circle right in front of Bean's house. Her dad called it a cul-de-sac. Bean called it cool. If Bean started riding her bicycle at the end of the block and pedaled really, really hard, she could whiz around the circle, tilting low over the sidewalk like a motorcycle rider. Slam! Bean looked up. She saw Ivy come out onto her front porch and plop down on the top step. Bean squinted at her. Ivy looked strange. She wasn't wearing a dress today. She was wearing a black bathrobe with lots of little pieces of paper stuck to it. Weird, thought Bean. She squinted some more. Instead of a big book, Ivy was carrying a stick painted gold. Bean made a face. What a goony costume, she thought. What a dork. Oh, she's not very nice, calling someone she's not even friends with her, and she's calling her names. Ivy sat. She didn't do anything. She just sat there all by herself. That was another thing about Ivy. She didn't mind being alone. She never played with anyone. Bean played with everyone. Big kids, little kids, all the kids in the neighborhood played with Bean, even Crummy Matt, who was so crummy he threw other kids' toys into the road. Even he wanted to play with Bean. She took care of the little kids. When they fell down and got blood all over their knees, Bean would take them home to get band-aids. The big kids let them play with her because she had good ideas, like seeing how many backyards they could cross without touching the ground. Bean loved big groups of kids playing big games like pirates or hide and seek. Sometimes Bean wished she were an orphan so that she could live in an orphanage with 100 other kids. Of course, she didn't tell her mother and father that. Bean watched Ivy alone on her front porch. Wasn't she lonely? Now Ivy was muttering something that Bean couldn't hear, and then she began to wave a stick in the air. Bean couldn't stand it any more. "What are you doing?" yelled Bean from inside her bush. Ivy looked all around. Bean forgot Ivy couldn't see her. "What's with the stick?" she yelled. Ivy's eyes got big. "Who's there?" she said. "Are you a ghost?" A ghost! What a great idea! Bean made her voice scratchy and spooky. "Yes," she howled. "I am the ghost of Mr. Kulip. I lived in your house before, and I died there too." Mr. Kulip had actually moved to Ohio, but Bean thought it was more interesting to say that he had died. "I've come to haunt you. Tonight, when you're sleeping, I'll wrap my icy fingers around your neck." "Bean, what are you yelling about?" Oops. Can you see who it was? It was Nancy. Bean's sister caught her. Did Bean get to play the trick on her like she had planned? Well, I don't know. But tomorrow, look at the title. Bean meets Ivy. Maybe we'll find out what happens. Does Bean get in trouble for taking her sister's $20 bill? Does she make friends with Ivy? Or do they not get along? Guess you'll have to join tomorrow to find out what happens in Ivy and Bean.